Hello and welcome back. I am doing something new today, if you haven't noticed, is that I'm using this program called SolarFire. Previously, I had been using a software called Astro Gold for the iOS, and this is actually from the same developer, although I'm not used to recording on a Windows PC, and I am playing around with it, and I'm finding the process of doing a screen capture to be very finicky. So I've been trying to do this, but you'll have to bear with me anyways. Um, this is more of a test than anything, right? Because I've done this a couple times and it's been giving me problems. But I'm just gonna do it now. The topic that I was gonna do this video for was the square between Mars and Uranus and Venus and Uranus. And basically, what I wanted to highlight was the fact that to make a video about Mars and Uranus would be incomplete without taking into consideration the presence of Venus currently conjunct Mars by 4 degrees. It's also important to note that Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, which Venus has rulership over, meaning that Venus is in a square with reception, and that there's more of a dialogue or conversation with a Venus in a position of authority basically over all the other planets involved because of the depositorship of Venus and Taurus in this equation. And it also, I doesn't think it hurts to have Jupiter in the same sign as Taurus. And because Jupiter and Venus are the benefics, I'm optimistic about it, although I note that there has been stuff in the news about killer whale attacks, about refugee boats capsizing, as well as the Titanic submarine imploding, which are all I was talking about in regards to Mercury squaring Neptune, which perfects at the same time. Tomorrow, you have Mercury. Hold on. Yes, Mercury square Neptune at the 27 degree at the same time as Mars square Uranus. And then if we keep going forward in time, on the first of the month, Venus in Leo squares Uranus and Taurus around the same time as a Cazimi with Mercury and the Sun. And as we keep going, what happens is we're going to get a retrograde of Venus in the sign of Leo, which will take place over the course of the entire summer. Now that we're in the summer season, we're just going to have lots of Venus and Leo. She's already been there for a while, and she's there to stay. So hopefully you like the Venus and Leo vibe for fixed signs and everything. In the early part of July here, you can see July 10th, Mars ingresses into Virgo, and so the Venus at this point in time is still conjunct Mars by an orb of 4 degrees, although Mars is out of sign. So it's basically she's in this 4-degree orb more or less the whole time, which is considered a conjunction, but it's interesting because it's like Venus is chasing after Mars, but never quite is able to perfect the conjunction because Venus is slowing down to go retrograde. But over the course of the square to Uranus, the Venus influence on Mars is very strong, and I guess you could say vice versa, but then eventually they separate as Venus slows down, and you can see on eventually Venus slowing down here and stationing retrograde on July 22nd at the 28th degree of Leo, just at the very end of Leo. And then Mars is now separating, being about 10 degrees apart right now at July 23rd. So then you can see the Venus-Mars influence separates out, and Mars goes further into Virgo, and then Venus starts retrograding backwards. And then it's just interesting to show this as an animation. I'm having so many technical difficulties trying to do this. Hopefully this video works. Because you get the square here, Second, this is square number 2, August 9th. Venus squares Uranus again for the second time, this time in retrograde motion. And then we have Venus conjunct the Sun in a Venus cazimi in retrograde. And then as we keep going, then we got Venus stationing at for the 4th of September at 12 degrees Leo. And then Venus now we're coming towards the end of summer here. We're coming towards the fall equinox. And so all throughout summer, we've got Venus in this one sign. It's a Venus and Leo summer. That's, and then once we got, this is the fall equinox, we've got Mars in Libra making a sextile to Venus with reception, because Libra is a Venus ruled sign, of course. And then Venus is approaching that degree. She at 22 degrees of Leo. She will square Uranus once again, this time with Uranus in retrograde motion. And so 3 squares from Venus to Uranus, and then right into the fall equinox. And yeah, I mean, isn't that cool? The actual meaning of Venus retrograde, of course, Venus stands for all kinds of things, not just relationships, but also art and um, also anything that's pleasant, anything that's aesthetically pleasing. Um, it's considered a benefic planet, right? So there's a kind of a positive or attractive quality with Venus, and in favoring peace, like the whole. If Mars is a polarity between Venus and Mars, if Mars is considered to signify war or to signify accidents or outbursts, Venus has the effect of smoothing things over, making things nice. I don't know if that's a kind of a trite word to say nice, but it's to make things pleasant and not abrasive. And not, it's like if you have hot salsa, but you need something to take away the heat and cool it off. Like it's the Mars is more of that hot, and then Venus kind of cools things down and mellows things out, right? Born to be mild, rather than born to. But that's the with the Uranus. Is it born to be mild or born to be wild? That's the question, really, right? So thanks for watching. This is at least hopefully this video worked out, and we'll see how this one looks.